7-year-old boy finds mysterious notes in his older sister's backpack. When he reads what's written, he immediately calls 911. The alarm clock's red numbers blinked 6:47 a.m. when Nathan Coleman first noticed something was wrong with his sister. Olivia always knocked on his door at 6:45. Their secret morning ritual unchanged since he started first grade last year. 2 minutes might seem insignificant to most 7-year-olds. But Nathan had inherited their mother's attention to detail and their father's stubborn concern for others. He slipped out of bed, Superman pajamas rustling in the quiet morning air, and padded down the hallway of their Winchester home. The Massachusetts autumn pressed cold against the windows, but inside, the house held onto its warmth. Nathan paused outside Olivia's door, hand hovering over the wood. The uncertainty felt foreign. This was his sister, his protector, his personal encyclopedia of everything important in the world. Yet lately, she seemed to be fading, like a favorite crayon worn down to a stub. "Liv," he knocked softly, using her nickname. "Are you awake?" A shuffling sound came from within, followed by a muffled, "Yeah. Come in." Nathan pushed open the door to find Olivia still in bed, covers pulled up to her chin despite the house's comfortable temperature. Her phone lay face down on the nightstand, its presence somehow more noticeable than usual. At 13, Olivia had only gotten the phone 6 months ago, a reward for straight A's and the promise of responsibility. Nathan remembered how excited she'd been, planning all the photos they'd take together. "You didn't wake me up," he said, trying to keep the hurt from his voice. Olivia pushed herself up, dark hair a tangled mess around her face. In the gray morning light, shadows hung beneath her eyes like smudged charcoal. "Sorry, buddy. I must have overslept." But her alarm clock showed 6:23, and Nathan frowned at the obvious lie. He'd learned about telling time last month and felt a small surge of pride at catching the discrepancy. Still, he said nothing. Something in Olivia's expression made him hold back, the same way he'd learned to be gentle with the class hamster when it seemed scared. "Want to help me pick out clothes?" he asked instead. This was another part of their routine, Olivia making sure he didn't mix plaids with stripes or wear his dinosaur shirt for the 4th day in a row. "You should practice doing it yourself," Olivia replied, her voice carrying a weight Nathan didn't understand. "You're getting bigger now." The words stung more than they should have. Nathan stood in the doorway, shifting from foot to foot, watching his sister check her phone with movements that seemed almost mechanical. The screen's blue light reflected in her eyes, and for a moment, she looked much older than 13. "Mom made chicken noodle soup last night," he tried again. "She said we could take it for lunch." This should have sparked excitement. Chicken noodle soup was their shared favorite, a comfort food their mother Diana had perfected during her early years as an ER nurse when quick, hearty meals were essential. Instead, Olivia just nodded, still staring at her phone. "I'm not really hungry," she murmured. "You can have my portion." Nathan retreated to his room, the morning routine disrupted in ways he couldn't quite articulate. He picked out clothes carefully, khaki pants and a blue sweater that Olivia had once said made his eyes look like the ocean. As he dressed, he could hear his parents' morning symphony. His father's deep voice on the phone, probably with the high school where he worked, his mother's quick footsteps, always rushing to or from a shift, and the unusual silence from Olivia's room. At breakfast, Nathan watched his sister push cereal around her bowl, creating patterns in the milk without ever lifting the spoon to her lips. Their mother rushed through the kitchen in scrubs, dropping kisses on their heads between gulps of coffee and reminders about homework. "Dad's picking you up today," Diana called over her shoulder, gathering her keys. "I've got a double shift, but I left lasagna in the fridge for dinner." "Olivia, make sure Nathan does his homework before TV." "Okay." Olivia nodded, but Nathan noticed she didn't look up from her cereal. Their father James appeared next, straightening his tie with one hand while checking his phone with the other. "Big day at school," he announced. "College counselor meeting first thing. Liv, you'll be in my office before you know it, planning your future." He smiled warmly at his daughter, missing the way she seemed to shrink at his words. Nathan watched it all with growing unease. He might be young, but he understood more than adults typically assumed. He noticed how Olivia's sweater, once fitted, now hung loose around her shoulders. How she'd stopped playing her guitar in the evenings, the instrument gathering dust in the corner of her room. How the kitchen whiteboard, once covered in her doodles and jokes, remained stubbornly blank except for their parents' work schedules. The drive to school was quiet, save for the radio's morning news. Nathan sat in the back, watching Olivia in the passenger seat. She pressed her forehead against the window, breath fogging the glass. Outside, trees shed their leaves in brilliant bursts of red and gold, but Olivia seemed colorless in comparison. As they pulled up to Winchester Elementary, Nathan gathered his backpack and lunchbox. Usually, Olivia would turn around, give him their secret handshake, and remind him to conquer the day. Today, she remained still, eyes fixed on something distant. "Bye, Liv," Nathan said softly, closing the car door. She didn't respond. Walking into school, Nathan felt the weight of change pressing down on his small shoulders. The corridor buzzed with morning energy, kids shouting, teachers herding students toward classrooms, the squeak of rubber soles on linoleum. But he moved through it all in a bubble of worry. In his classroom, Miss Thompson had written, "What makes you special?" on the whiteboard in her neat handwriting. Nathan slid into his seat, thinking about how Olivia used to tell him he was special because he noticed things other people missed. Like how she always knew when he had a bad day at school, or how he could tell which of Mom's laughs were real and which were tired. Now, watching the morning light paint patterns on his desk, Nathan wondered if noticing things was really so special after all, because he noticed how his sister was vanishing, piece by piece, and he had no idea how to bring her back. The classroom clock ticked steadily toward morning lessons, but Nathan's thoughts remained in the car with Olivia, trying to understand when exactly his sister had started to disappear, and wondering if anyone else could see it happening. 3 weeks after the morning Olivia stopped knocking on his door, Nathan found the first note. It wasn't dramatic. No thunder crashed outside. No ominous music played like in the movies his parents thought he was too young to watch. Instead, it happened during the quiet lull of an after-school Thursday, when autumn rain tapped against the windows like hesitant fingers. "Liv, I can't find my math worksheet," Nathan called up the stairs. Their parents wouldn't be home for hours. Dad had parent-teacher conferences, and Mom was covering someone's shift again. The house felt too big in these afternoon hours, echo-empty except for the distant sound of Olivia's bedroom door closing. No response came. Nathan sighed, remembering how she used to race down the stairs 2 at a time whenever he needed help, her dark hair flying behind her like a superhero's cape. Now, silence had become her new language. He knew she'd helped him with his homework during breakfast. She still did that much, at least, though her explanations had grown shorter, her patience thinner. The worksheet had to be in her backpack, which sat slumped against the kitchen counter like a deflated balloon. "I'm just going to look in your bag," he announced, loud enough for his voice to carry upstairs. When no objection came, he unzipped the main compartment. Olivia's backpack used to be a riot of colored drawings from friends, keychains, patches she'd ironed on herself. Now it was plain navy blue, the decorations removed one by one over the past months. Nathan pushed aside textbooks and folders, searching for his worksheet with the careful determination of a treasure hunter. His hand brushed against something at the bottom, a composition notebook, its corners soft and worn. He wouldn't have paid it attention except for the way it was wrapped in a rubber band, like a secret keeping itself shut. Nathan hesitated, guilt warring with curiosity. Olivia had always respected his privacy, never reading his adventure stories without permission, never telling their parents about the candy stash under his bed. But the rubber band was already sliding off, too old to maintain its grip, and the notebook fell open in his lap. The first page was blank except for a single line in Olivia's familiar handwriting. "I don't know how much longer I can pretend." Nathan's stomach twisted. He knew he should close the notebook, put it back, pretend he'd never seen it. Instead, he turned the page. Different handwriting filled the next sheet, angular and sharp. Unlike Olivia's rounded letters, "Nobody wants you at their lunch table. Take the hint already." Another page. "You think anyone believes your fake smile? We all know what a mess you are." Nathan's hands trembled as he continued. Some notes were clearly from others, cruel words thrown like stones. Others were in Olivia's handwriting, growing increasingly desperate. I wish I could disappear. They're right about everything. What if I just stopped trying? Between the pages, he found Instagram screenshots, photos where Olivia had been clearly cropped out. Comments that made his chest hurt, even though he didn't understand all the words. One image showed Madison Reynolds, Olivia's former best friend, at a birthday party Nathan knew his sister hadn't been invited to. The caption read, "Only real friends made the cut." More notes spilled out as he turned pages. "If you tell anyone, it'll only get worse. Nobody would believe you anyway. Just do everyone a favor and disappear." Some papers were crumpled and then smoothed flat, as if Olivia had tried to throw them away but couldn't quite let them go. Others were tear-stained, the ink blurred in places. Nathan recognized Madison's handwriting from the times she used to leave friendly notes in their mailbox, back when she and Olivia were inseparable. Now her words were weapons, carefully preserved in this grim archive. A text message screenshot caught his eye. "Madison, remember when you told me about your dad's counseling sessions? How embarrassing that he helps other kids but can't even see what a mess his own daughter is." Nathan's hands shook as he turned another page. This one was different, a list in Olivia's handwriting, dated just 2 days ago. Reasons it would be better. Mom wouldn't have to worry about feeding me. Dad could focus on kids who actually matter. Nathan would have a normal sister instead of a freak. Madison was right about everything. I'm so tired of pretending. Maybe then it would finally stop hurting. The sound of a door opening upstairs made Nathan jump. He quickly rewrapped the rubber band around the notebook, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. He shoved it back into the backpack just as Olivia's footsteps started down the stairs. "Did you find your worksheet?" she asked, her voice flat. Nathan nodded, not trusting himself to speak. He grabbed a random paper from her bag, not even checking if it was the right one. Olivia paused at the bottom of the stairs, and for a moment, Nathan saw her clearly. The dark circles under her eyes like bruises, the way her shoulders curved inward as if protecting her heart, the slight tremor in her hands as she checked her phone for the 100th time that day. "You okay?" she asked, noticing his expression. "Are you?" The words slipped out before he could stop them. Something flickered across Olivia's face. Fear? Sadness? Before her features smoothed into the blank mask she'd been wearing for months. "Of course," she said, but the words sounded hollow, like the echo in an empty room. "Why wouldn't I be?" Nathan watched her retreat to the kitchen, where she would pretend to eat a snack while actually just tearing a granola bar into tiny pieces. His worksheet lay forgotten on the floor, but math suddenly seemed very unimportant. That night, lying in bed, Nathan thought about Officer Rivera's presentation at school last month. "Sometimes," she had said, "the bravest thing you can do is ask for help, not for yourself, but for someone else." He thought about the notebook, heavy with secrets and pain. About his sister, disappearing one silent day at a time. About Madison Reynolds, who used to braid Olivia's hair during sleepovers and now wrote words sharp enough to draw blood. Nathan Coleman was 7 years old, and he had no idea how to save his sister. But he knew, with a certainty that settled in his chest like a stone, that he had to try. The rain continued its gentle percussion against his window, and somewhere in the dark house, he imagined the notebook pulsing with its hidden hurts, waiting for someone to finally hear its cry for help. The Saturday after finding the notebook, Nathan sat at the kitchen counter, watching Olivia make toast she wouldn't eat. Their parents were rushing through their morning routine, Dad heading to a weekend counseling workshop, Mom catching up on paperwork before her next shift. Nobody seemed to notice how Olivia's hands shook as she spread butter in precise, mechanical movements. "Do you want half?" she asked Nathan, though she'd already begun cutting the toast into 2 perfect triangles. Their old Saturday tradition, sharing breakfast while watching cartoons. "Only if you eat the other half," Nathan replied, watching her carefully. Olivia's knife paused mid-spread. For a moment, something like their old connection flickered between them, Nathan's stubborn care, her surprised recognition of it. Then her phone buzzed, and the moment shattered like dropped glass. He watched her check the screen, saw the color drain from her face. Her fingers tightened around the phone until her knuckles went white. Without a word, she pushed the entire plate toward Nathan and disappeared upstairs. "Everything okay with your sister?" Diana asked, appearing in the kitchen with her travel mug, scrubs already wrinkled from the morning rush. Nathan looked at his mother, really looked at her. The dark circles under her eyes matched Olivia's now, both of them carrying shadows they tried to hide. "She didn't eat again," he said simply. Diana sighed, glancing at the stairs. "She's probably just going through a phase. You know how teenagers are." But her voice held a note of uncertainty, and she lingered longer than usual, staring at the untouched toast. "Maybe I should talk to her." "Diana, we're going to be late," James called from the front door. "Nathan, buddy, Mrs. Peterson next door will check on you kids at lunch. Be good." And just like that, the moment of concern passed. Nathan watched his parents leave, the door closing behind them with a finality that felt heavy in the quiet house. Upstairs, he could hear Olivia's voice, muffled but urgent. "Please, Madison, just delete it. I'll do anything you want, just please." Nathan crept closer to her door, his sock feet silent on the carpet. He'd never heard his sister beg before. The sound made his stomach hurt. I know it was stupid to trust you," Olivia's voice cracked. "But we were best friends. I told you that stuff about my anxiety in private. You promised." A pause. Then a sound Nathan recognized from the time he'd fallen off his bike and scraped both knees, the sharp intake of breath that comes before tears. "Fine. Yes. I'll tell everyone I made it up. Just please don't show anyone else." Later that morning, Nathan sat on the living room floor with his Legos spread around him, building and rebuilding the same wall while keeping one eye on the stairs. Olivia hadn't come down for hours. Her phone buzzed periodically. He could hear it through the floor, each notification making the house feel smaller, more dangerous. At 11:43, her door finally opened. Nathan pretended to be absorbed in his Legos as she came downstairs, but he caught her reflection in the TV screen. She wore an oversized hoodie despite the warm house, her hair pulled back so tight it had to hurt. "Want to watch a movie?" he asked hopefully. "We could build a blanket fort like we used to." Olivia paused at the bottom of the stairs, one hand clutching her phone like a lifeline. For a second, Nathan saw a flash of his old sister, the one who used to spend hours constructing elaborate pillow castles with him, who knew all the voices for different characters. "I can't," she said finally. "I have homework." "It's Saturday," Nathan pointed out. "There's just a lot to do. Okay?" The words came out sharp, defensive. Then softer. "Maybe another time, buddy." She retreated to the kitchen, and Nathan heard the familiar sound of cabinet doors opening and closing, the pretense of seeking food without actually eating anything. He abandoned his Legos and followed, watching from the doorway as she methodically arranged crackers on a plate, broke each one into smaller pieces, then threw them away. "Liv," he ventured, "remember when you said I could always tell you anything?" She froze, hand hovering over the trash can. "Yeah. Does that work both ways? Can you tell me anything too?" The silence that followed felt like holding his breath underwater. Olivia turned slowly, and for a moment, just a moment, her carefully constructed walls crumbled. Nathan saw everything. The fear, the exhaustion, the desperate loneliness. "Nathan, she started. Her phone buzzed. The walls slammed back up. "I'm fine," she said, the lie settling between them like a physical thing. "Everything's fine." That afternoon, Nathan watched through his bedroom window as Madison and two other girls from Olivia's grade walked past their house. They looked up at Olivia's window, laughing about something he couldn't hear. One of them held up her phone, taking a picture. In her room, Olivia's phone buzzed again, and again, and again. Nathan thought about the notebook in her backpack, about the words that cut deeper than any playground insult he'd ever heard. He thought about Officer Rivera saying sometimes the people who need help the most are the ones who can't ask for it. When Mrs. Peterson came to check on them at lunch, Olivia said she wasn't hungry. Nathan watched their neighbors' concern surface and disappear just as quickly as their mothers had. Adults seemed to accept explanations they wanted to believe. But Nathan couldn't accept it anymore. Not when he heard Olivia crying through the bathroom door that evening. Not when he found another note slipped into her backpack. Wonder what your little brother would think if he knew what a worthless sister he has? That night, after their parents came home, Mom exhausted from her shift, Dad distracted by Monday's counseling appointments, Nathan lay awake, listening to the quiet sounds of his sister's distress through the wall they shared. He thought about the drawer in the kitchen where their parents kept emergency numbers, about Officer Rivera's presentation on calling 911, about how sometimes being brave meant being scared but doing something anyway. Tomorrow, he decided. Tomorrow he would make the call, because being 7 years old didn't mean he couldn't recognize when someone was drowning, even if that someone was the person who had taught him how to swim. Nathan woke up early Sunday morning, his decision sitting heavy in his stomach like undigested dinner. The house was quiet except for the rhythmic drip of the coffee maker downstairs. Mom always said it the night before, letting the smell of coffee ease her into emergency room shifts. He slipped out of bed and went to his desk, where his Pokemon notebook lay open to a fresh page. Ms. Thompson had taught them about making important decisions. Write down your thoughts, she'd said. It helps you see things clearly. With his favorite blue pencil, Nathan wrote, reasons to call 911. Olivia is hurting, the notes are scary, she's not eating, Madison is being mean, nobody else sees it. Then, because Ms. Thompson said to look at both sides. Reasons not to call. Olivia might get mad, maybe I'm wrong, what if I make it worse? Big kids' problems are complicated, Mom and Dad might be upset. He stared at the lists until the words blurred. Through the wall, he could hear Olivia's phone buzzing again. It never seemed to stop anymore. A soft thud followed, then the muffled sound of crying. Nathan crept to his bookshelf and pulled out Harold and the Purple Crayon, the book Olivia used to read to him every night. She'd done all the voices, made it magical. Now it felt like it belonged to a different lifetime, one where his sister still smiled real smiles. The memory of last week's school assembly floated back to him. Officer Rivera had stood at the front of the gymnasium, her badge catching the fluorescent lights. Sometimes, she'd said, being brave means making hard choices. If you see someone in trouble, really in trouble, it's okay to tell, even if they might be mad at first. It's better to have an angry friend than a friend who's hurt. But Olivia wasn't just a friend. She was his sister, his protector, his personal encyclopedia of everything important in the world. Or at least she used to be. Nathan pulled the house phone from its charging station in the hallway and retreated to his room. He'd memorized 911 before he'd learned his multiplication tables. It was one of those things adults made sure kids knew, like not talking to strangers or looking both ways before crossing the street. His thumb hovered over the numbers. What if he was wrong? What if this was just normal teenager stuff like his mom said? But then he remembered the list in Olivia's notebook. Reasons it would be better. The thought of a world without his sister made his chest hurt worse than the time he'd fallen off the monkey bars. A text notification sound came from Olivia's room, followed by a sharp intake of breath. Whatever Madison had sent, it wasn't good. Nathan thought about his best friend Tyler, whose older brother Jack was in Olivia's grade. Last week at recess, Tyler had told him something that kept coming back to him. Jack says sometimes people wear masks, Tyler had said while they built a sandcastle. Not real masks, but like, they pretend to be okay when they're not. And if nobody notices, the mask gets stuck. The phone felt heavy in Nathan's small hands. He thought about masks, about his sister's smile that didn't reach her eyes anymore, about the notes that told the truth her voice wouldn't say. From downstairs came the sound of their mother leaving for her shift, the front door closing with a quiet click. Their dad wouldn't be up for hours. He always slept late on Sundays. The house settled into that in-between silence that made everything feel more important. Nathan took a deep breath and dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? The operator's voice was kind, steady. My name is Nathan Coleman, he said, his voice smaller than he wanted it to be. I'm 7, and I think my sister might need help. Are you at home right now? Nathan, can you tell me your address? 42 Maple Street in Winchester. My sister Olivia. She's 13. She has notes in her backpack. Bad ones. Some she wrote and some other people wrote to hurt her. And she's not eating anymore. And she cries all the time and... The words tumbled out like spilled marbles. You're doing the right thing, Nathan, the operator said gently. Is your sister there now? Are your parents home? She's in her room. Dad's sleeping. Mom just left for work at the hospital. Please don't let Olivia be mad at me. I just want her to be okay again. Listen to me, Nathan. You're being very brave. I'm gonna send some people to help. Okay? They'll know how to talk to Olivia and make sure she's safe. Can you stay on the phone with me until they get there? Nathan nodded, then remembered you had to say things out loud on the phone. Yes, good. Now, tell me more about yourself. Do you like school? As he answered the operator's questions, Nathan heard movement from Olivia's room. His heart beat faster, but he kept talking. The operator's voice stayed calm, asking about his favorite subjects, his friends, normal things that felt strange to discuss when everything else had become so complicated. In the distance, sirens began to wail. Nathan moved to his window, phone pressed to his ear, and watched as red and blue lights painted the morning street in emergency colors. He thought about his sister, about the Olivia who used to chase away his nightmares and make up stories about the shapes in his ceiling cracks. About the Olivia who now haunted their house like a ghost of herself. They're here, he whispered into the phone. You did the right thing, the operator assured him again. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is ask for help when someone needs it. As footsteps came up the front walk, Nathan closed his eyes and hoped that someday, when Olivia understood why he'd made this choice, she would forgive him. More than that, he hoped she would thank him because it would mean she was still here to do so. The doorbell rang, its chime echoing through the Sunday morning silence like a beginning. The next few hours blurred together like watercolors in Nathan's memory. He remembered his father's heavy footsteps rushing down the hallway, the confusion in his voice when he opened the front door to find 2 police officers and a woman who introduced herself as a crisis counselor. Mr. Coleman? I'm Officer Reeves. We received a call about your daughter, Olivia. Nathan sat at the top of the stairs, watching through the banister slats as his father transformed from sleepy to alert in seconds. Olivia? What's wrong with Olivia? Before anyone could answer, a scream came from his sister's room, raw and broken, like nothing Nathan had ever heard before. What did you do? Olivia's voice cracked as she stormed into the hallway, her phone clutched in her hand. Nathan, what did you do? He hadn't realized she could see the police cars from her window. Their father rushed upstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time. Olivia, honey, what's going on? But Olivia was staring at Nathan, her face a battlefield of emotions, betrayal, fear, anger, and somewhere beneath it all, something that might have been relief. You went through my backpack, she whispered. You read my private things. I saw the notes, Nathan said quietly, his voice steady despite the tears gathering in his eyes. The ones you wrote and the ones Madison wrote. I saw what they're doing to you. The crisis counselor had followed their father upstairs. She was younger than their mother, with kind eyes and a quiet voice. Olivia, my name is Rachel. Would you be willing to talk with me? We can do it wherever you feel comfortable. There's nothing to talk about, Olivia insisted, but her voice trembled. Everything's fine. Nathan's he's just a kid. He doesn't understand. Your brother called us because he's worried about you, Officer Reeves said from the bottom of the stairs. He mentioned some concerning notes. Protocol requires us to investigate any potential threats to a minor's safety. Their father looked lost, his counselor's expertise useless in his own home. Notes? Olivia, what notes? Nathan slipped back to his room and returned with Olivia's backpack before she could stop him. The composition notebook felt heavier than ever as he handed it to Rachel. Don't, Olivia pleaded, but it was too late. The house filled with new voices as their mother was called home from her shift. Nathan retreated to his room, listening to the muffled conversations through his door. Adult words like intervention and cyberbullying and depression screening floated up the stairs. He heard his mother cry for the first time in years. Hours passed. Nathan built and rebuilt a Lego tower, trying not to think about the notebook being read downstairs, about Olivia's secrets spilling out into the open air. His door opened around lunchtime at their father, looking older than he had that morning. "Hey, buddy," James said, sitting on Nathan's bed. "We need to talk about what happened." Nathan set down his Legos. "Is Olivia okay?" His father's pause lasted a heartbeat too long. "She will be. She's talking with Rachel right now. Mom's calling the school, and we're going to make sure Madison and the others can't hurt her anymore." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Nathan recognized from difficult homework problems. "Nathan, why didn't you come to us first? Would you have believed me?" Nathan asked simply. "You and Mom always say Olivia's just being a teenager. But I saw her disappearing. Like when we play I Spy, and something's right in front of you but you can't see it until someone points it out." James made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. "When did you get so wise, little man?" "Olivia taught me to pay attention," Nathan said. "Before she stopped teaching me things." A soft knock interrupted them. Olivia stood in the doorway, Rachel beside her. Nathan hadn't realized how long it had been since he'd really seen his sister's face. Not the mask she wore, but her real face, vulnerable and tired and young. "Can I talk to my brother?" she asked quietly. "Alone?" Rachel nodded encouragingly, and their father squeezed Nathan's shoulder before leaving. The siblings faced each other across the battlefield of Nathan's toy-strewn room. "I read the last note," Olivia said finally. "The list of reasons. Number 3 said Nathan would have a better sister." She took a shaky breath. "But I wouldn't have a brother at all. Not if you hadn't." She couldn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Nathan crossed the room and wrapped his arms around his sister's waist, pressing his face into her sweater. She smelled like she always had, like the lavender shampoo she loved, like home. "I'm so mad at you," she whispered, but her arms came around him, holding on tight. "And I'm so scared. They want me to talk to a therapist. Mom's crying. Dad keeps saying he should have known. Madison's parents are being called." She shuddered. "Everything's falling apart." "No," Nathan said firmly. "Everything was already falling apart. Now maybe we can fix it." Olivia's laugh was watery. "When did you get so smart?" "I had a good teacher." Before she forgot how amazing she is, they stood there, holding each other as the autumn sun painted shadows across the room. Downstairs, adults discussed treatment plans and school interventions. Olivia's phone lay silent. Their mother had confiscated it after reading the messages. "I don't know how to do this," Olivia admitted. "I don't know how to get better." "That's okay," Nathan said. "You don't have to know. You just have to try." He pulled back to look at her face. "And this time you don't have to pretend everything's fine when it's not." Fresh tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks, but somehow they looked different from the tears Nathan had been pretending not to hear through their shared wall. These looked like rain instead of storms. "I'm sorry I made you go through this alone," he whispered. Olivia shook her head. "You didn't. You saw me, even when I didn't want to be seen." She wiped her eyes. "I'm not okay, Nathan. I haven't been okay for a long time." "I know," he said simply. "But you will be." As if to prove his point, Rachel called up the stairs. "Olivia? Your parents and I would like to talk about next steps, if you're ready." Olivia tensed, her hands curling into fists. Then, slowly, she relaxed them. "Will you come with me?" she asked Nathan. "Not for the whole thing, just until I'm brave enough to do it alone?" Nathan took his sister's hand, feeling the way it trembled, sensing the strength it took for her to ask for help. "You're already brave," he told her. "You just forgot for a while." Together, they walked downstairs to face whatever came next, their shadows merging on the wall behind them, not fixed, not healed, but finally moving in the right direction. Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Nathan watched from his bedroom window as his father's car disappeared around the corner, taking Olivia to her first appointment with Dr. Catherine Bennett. School had been canceled for both Coleman children, a mental health day, their mother had called it, her voice carrying a mix of guilt and determination. Diana sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers and sticky notes, her phone constantly buzzing with messages from the hospital about her requested family leave. Nathan could hear fragments of her conversations. Yes, it's an emergency. No, I need more than 2 days. My daughter. The house felt different in the daylight, as if yesterday's revelations had changed its very architecture. Nathan found himself gravitating toward the kitchen counter where Olivia's backpack had sat, where everything had finally started to unravel. "Mom," he asked, climbing onto a stool beside her. "How did Olivia and Madison stop being friends?" Diana set down her phone, rubbing her temples. "I've been asking myself the same question. Sweetheart. They were inseparable since 4th grade, and then..." She trailed off, lost in retrospect. "I should have noticed when Madison stopped coming over," but Nathan knew there was more to the story. He remembered snippets of conversations, pieces of a puzzle he'd been unconsciously collecting for months. Last spring, Olivia had started seeing their father during his counseling hours at school. Not officially. She would just sit in his office during lunch, claiming she needed a quiet place to study. Nathan remembered because she'd stopped eating lunch with Madison around the same time. "Is it because of the anxiety?" he asked quietly. Diana's head snapped up. "How do you know about that?" "I heard Olivia talking about it. On the phone yesterday." Madison told everyone something Olivia told her in private. His mother's face darkened. "Those text messages. I had no idea teenagers could be so cruel." She reached for Nathan's hand. "Your sister was diagnosed with anxiety disorder 3 months ago. She only told Madison, her best friend. She wasn't ready for everyone to know." The front door opened, and James entered with Olivia. The 90-minute session with Dr. Bennett had left her looking drained but somehow lighter, as if sharing the weight had made it more bearable. "How did it go?" Diana asked, standing. "Dr. Bennett wants to see me twice a week," Olivia said, her voice small but steady. "And she wants to have a session with Madison and her parents." Nathan watched his sister sink into a kitchen chair, her fingers absently tracing patterns on the table's surface. "Can I tell them?" she asked their father. "About how it started?" James nodded encouragingly, pulling up a chair beside her. "Madison found me having a panic attack in the bathroom at school," Olivia began, her words coming slowly. "It was after that presentation in history class. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think straight. She helped me calm down, and I told her everything. About the anxiety, about sneaking to Dad's office instead of eating lunch, about how sometimes my brain tells me everyone hates me." She took a shaky breath. "She was nice about it at first, said she understood that she'd help me. But then she started hanging out with Ashley and Rebecca. They care so much about being perfect, about looking right and acting right. And Madison. She changed. It started small," Olivia continued, her voice dropping. "She'd make little comments about how I was too much drama. Then she started telling people I was weird for hiding in the counselor's office. Someone saw me taking my anxiety medication, and suddenly there were rumors that I was on drugs." Nathan remembered the day those rumors had started. Olivia had come home early, claiming a stomach ache. He'd heard her crying in her room but hadn't known why. The worst part was how Madison would act nice sometimes, Olivia said, tears sliding down her cheeks. She'd text me saying she missed me, that she was sorry. I think things were getting better. Then she'd post something cruel online or tell people more of my secrets. It was like she kept giving me hope just to take it away. "Oh, sweetheart," Diana whispered, moving to embrace her daughter. "I kept all the notes," Olivia admitted. "The mean ones, the fake nice ones, everything. I thought if I could understand why she turned on me, maybe I could fix it. Maybe I could be good enough again." She looked at Nathan. "That's what you found, isn't it? My collection of everything falling apart." Nathan nodded, remembering the weight of the notebook in his hands. "But you also wrote your own notes. Scary ones. Dr. Bennett says I was internalizing the bullying," Olivia explained, using words that sounded borrowed from her therapy session. "Taking their words and making them my voice." She wiped her eyes. "She says it's common with anxiety. You already doubt yourself. So it's easier to believe the bad things people say about you." James leaned forward, his counselor's composure cracking. "Why didn't you tell me?" I was right there at school helping other kids. Because I didn't want to be one of your cases, Olivia said softly. I wanted to be strong enough to handle it myself. And I was ashamed. You help kids with real problems. This felt like I was just being weak. This is a real problem, Diana said firmly. And asking for help isn't weakness. It's courage. Nathan thought about the Olivia from before, the one who taught him to ride a bike, who made up stories about stars, who never hesitated to stand up for him on the playground. He saw now that she hadn't disappeared. She'd just gotten lost under the weight of words and fear and silence. Madison's mom called this morning, James said gently. They want to come over tomorrow. To talk. Olivia tensed. I don't want to see her. Dr. Bennett will be here, Diana assured her. And you don't have to forgive her. You just have to be honest about how her actions affected you. Can I stay? Nathan asked. Not for the talking part, but just nearby. Olivia reached for his hand, squeezing it tight. My brave little brother. Always watching out for me. The autumn sun slanted through the kitchen windows, painting everything in soft gold. Nathan looked at his family, really looked at them. His mother's determined expression, his father's gentle concern, and Olivia with her walls finally crumbling, letting them see her pain but also her strength. Dr. Bennett says healing isn't linear, Olivia said, as if testing out the words, that there will be good days and bad days. But she also says we don't heal alone. Nathan thought about his Pokemon notebook upstairs, with its lists of reasons. He wondered what would happen if Olivia made a new list. Reasons to stay, reasons to fight, reasons to believe in herself again. He had a feeling they would far outnumber the reasons to disappear. Tuesday brought Rain and Madison Reynolds to the Coleman house. Nathan watched from his bedroom window as she walked up their driveway, her usual confidence absent in the hunch of her shoulders. Her mother's hand rested on her back, guiding her forward like a reluctant puppet. Dr. Bennett's car was already parked outside, and Nathan had watched their father arrange and rearrange the living room furniture 3 times that morning, as if the right seating arrangement could somehow make this easier. Nathan? Olivia stood in his doorway, wearing the lavender sweater their grandmother had given her last Christmas. They're here. He turned from the window. Are you scared? Terrified. She attempted a smile. But Dr. Bennett says that's okay. Being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. Downstairs, the doorbell rang. Nathan heard his mother's measured greeting, Madison's mother's too bright voice, and beneath it all, a heavy silence where teenage girls' laughter used to be. I'll be in my room, Nathan promised. The whole time, Olivia nodded, squeezing his hand as she passed. He watched her descend the stairs, back straight, each step deliberate. Their mother had helped her pick out her outfit, armor, Diana had called it, understanding something about teenage girls that Nathan couldn't quite grasp. Through his floor, Nathan could hear the murmur of voices beginning the difficult conversation below. He couldn't make out words, just tones. Dr. Bennett's calm professionalism, his father's careful neutrality, Madison's mother's defensive protests. Then Olivia's voice, clear and steady. I trusted you. The words seemed to echo through the house, carrying the weight of countless betrayed secrets and shattered promises. Nathan held his breath, waiting. Madison's response was too quiet to hear, but whatever she said made someone, probably her mother, gasp. Time moved strangely after that. Nathan built a fortress of books around himself, pretending to read while actually listening to the rise and fall of voices below. Sometimes they grew loud enough for him to catch phrases. I didn't mean for it to go so far. Do you understand what you almost caused? My daughter could have. I was jealous. Okay? Is that what you want to hear? That last one was Madison, her voice cracking. Nathan crept to his heating vent, where the voices carried more clearly. You were my best friend, Madison was saying, something like desperation in her voice. You told me everything. Then suddenly you were spending lunches with your dad, keeping secrets, and Ashley said if I wanted to be part of their group. So you traded my friendship for popularity? Olivia's voice was quiet but sharp. I traded it because I was scared. Madison burst out. Because you were getting help for your anxiety and I I couldn't admit that I needed help too. Silence followed this confession. Nathan imagined everyone absorbing the implications. How hurt people, how secrets breed secrets. Dr. Bennett's voice came next, professional but gentle. Madison, would you like to talk about that? What followed was too quiet for Nathan to hear, but he understood that something fundamental had shifted. The conversation continued for another hour, voices rising and falling like waves. When it finally ended, Nathan heard car doors closing, engines starting. He waited until the sounds faded before venturing downstairs. He found Olivia in the kitchen, sitting at the counter while their mother made tea. Her eyes were red but dry, her hands steady as she accepted the steaming mug. "How do you feel?" Diana asked, smoothing Olivia's hair. "Tired," said. "Relieved." Olivia stared into her tea. "Madison's starting therapy too. Did you know her parents are getting divorced? She's been pretending everything's perfect at home while her whole world falls apart." "That doesn't excuse what she did to you," James said firmly. "No," Olivia agreed. "But it helps me understand." She looked up at Nathan hovering in the doorway. "Come here, buddy." He climbed onto the stool beside her, leaning into her side. She smelled like lavender and salt. Tears, he realized. "Madison's going to transfer to the other middle school," Olivia told him. "Her mom thinks it's better if we have some space. And the school is implementing new anti-bullying policies. Dad's helping develop them." James nodded. "We're going to have assemblies about cyberbullying, mental health resources. Things we should have had in place already." "Ashley and Rebecca got suspended," Diana added. Their parents were horrified when they saw the text messages. Nathan thought about ripples in a pond, how one small action could spread outward in ever-widening circles. His phone call had done more than just help his sister. It had exposed cracks in their community that needed fixing. Dr. Bennett says sometimes it takes one person speaking up to help others find their voice, Olivia said, as if reading his thoughts. The school counseling office had 3 new students come in yesterday, kids who've been dealing with their own stuff in silence. She pulled Nathan into a proper hug, her tea forgotten. "You did that, you know. You showed people it's okay to ask for help." "I just wanted my sister back," Nathan mumbled into her sweater. "You did more than that," James said, his voice thick with emotion. "You reminded me what I tell my students every day, that sometimes the people who need help the most are the ones right in front of us." Diana wiped her eyes, trying to hide it by turning to the sink. "The hospital approved my leave. 2 weeks to help get everything sorted." "Mom, you don't have to," Olivia started. "Yes, I do." Diana turned back, her expression fierce with love. "We're all going to do better. Be more present, more aware." Through the kitchen window, Nathan could see the rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting long shadows across their yard. He thought about Madison, heading home to her own struggles, her own healing journey beginning. He thought about other kids at school, carrying their own heavy secrets. "Does it ever go away completely?" he asked. "The hard stuff?" "No, honey," Diana answered honestly. "But we get better at carrying it. Especially when we don't try to carry it alone." Olivia squeezed his hand. "And sometimes the people who help us carry it are the ones we least expect. Like little brothers who are braver than they know." Outside, a rainbow appeared, faint but present, a reminder that even the darkest storms eventually pass, leaving the world changed but somehow clearer in their wake. 3 weeks after the confrontation with Madison, Nathan sat in Dr. Bennett's waiting room, working on his math homework while Olivia had her session. The office had become familiar: warm beige walls, soft chairs, and a white noise machine that made ocean sounds. He liked coming here with Olivia on Tuesdays and Thursdays, watching her emerge a little stronger each time. Today was different though. Today, Dr. Bennett had asked to speak with him too. "Nathan?" Dr. Bennett appeared in the doorway, her silver-rimmed glasses catching the afternoon light. "Would you like to join us for the last 15 minutes? He found Olivia curled in her usual spot on the blue couch, a box of tissues nearby though her eyes were clear today. She patted the space beside her. "Your sister's been telling me about the notebook," Dr. Bennett said once Nathan was settled. "About how you found it and what you did next." Would you like to talk about that? Nathan glanced at Olivia, who nodded encouragingly. I didn't mean to spy, he started. I was just looking for my homework. But once you saw what was in it, you kept reading, Dr. Bennett observed. That must have been scary. Not as scary as losing Olivia would have been, Nathan said quietly. Olivia's breath caught. Nathan? The notes weren't just Madison's mean words. He continued, the thoughts he'd been holding spilling out. They were like a diary of Olivia disappearing. Every page had less of her and more of what they wanted her to believe about herself. Dr. Bennett leaned forward slightly. That's very insightful, Nathan, especially for someone your age. I'm 7 3/4, he corrected automatically, making Olivia laugh, a real laugh, one that reminded him of before. The notebook, Dr. Bennett said gently, has become something of a turning point in our sessions. Olivia, would you like to share what we discussed? Olivia shifted, pulling a familiar composition notebook from her bag. But it wasn't the same one. This one was new, its corners crisp and unmarked. Dr. Bennett suggested I start writing again, she explained. Not to keep track of hurt this time, but to track healing. She opened to the first page. Every day, I write down one thing I'm proud of, one thing I'm grateful for, and one truth to replace an old lie. She turned the notebook so Nathan could see. Today's entry read, proud of, speaking up in class again, grateful for, Mom making pancakes before school, truth. I deserve to take up space? Would you like to help? Olivia asked. You've always been good at seeing the truth about me, even when I couldn't. Nathan thought for a moment. You're funny. You do good voices in stories. You know all the Pokemon types by heart. Those are excellent truths, Dr. Bennett smiled. Olivia, how does hearing those make you feel? Like, Olivia paused, considering. Like maybe the person I used to be isn't completely gone. She's just been hiding. The notebook serves another purpose, Dr. Bennett explained to Nathan. It's helping Olivia understand why she kept the old notes for so long. Would you like to share what we discovered? Olivia drew a deep breath. I thought if I kept them, I could figure out how to fix myself. Like if I studied them enough, I'd understand what was wrong with me. She reached for Nathan's hand. But there was nothing wrong with me. The problem was that I believed there was. That's why the new notebook is so important, Dr. Bennett added. It's not about collecting evidence of pain anymore. It's about building evidence of worth. Nathan looked at his sister, really looked at her. Her cheeks had more color now, and she'd started wearing her hair down again instead of hiding behind tight ponytails. That morning, she'd eaten a whole piece of toast while helping him with his spelling words. Can I write in it sometimes too? He asked. When I notice good things? Olivia's smile wobbled. I'd like that. Dr. Bennett watched this exchange with approval. Family support is crucial in recovery. Nathan, you've already proven you have excellent instincts when it comes to helping your sister. But it's important for you to know that you don't have to carry this responsibility alone anymore. I know, Nathan nodded. That's what the Tuesday and Thursday appointments are for. And Mom's support group for parents, and Dad's new bullying prevention program at school. Very good, Dr. Bennett smiled. Now, I have one last question for both of you. What's something you're looking forward to? The Autumn Festival, Nathan said immediately. Olivia promised to help me with the ring toss this year. Really? Dr. Bennett looked at Olivia. That's quite a crowd. I'm nervous about it, Olivia admitted. But Dr. Bennett and I have been practicing coping strategies. And she squeezed Nathan's hand. I have a pretty good support system. After the session, as they waited for their father to pick them up, Olivia pulled out her notebook again. Under grateful for, she wrote, a little brother who sees me, even when I'm trying to disappear. Nathan watched the words appear on the page, each letter a small act of healing. Each sentence a step away from the darkness and toward whatever came next. Outside, autumn painted the trees in brilliant colors, and somewhere in the distance, a wind chime played a gentle melody. Nathan thought about notebooks, how they could hold both hurt and healing, how writing new stories didn't erase the old ones but could help make them easier to carry. Ice cream. Olivia suggested suddenly. Like we used to get after school? Nathan grinned. With sprinkles? Extra sprinkles, she confirmed, and in her smile, he saw another truth worth writing down. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is believe in better days, even before they arrive. The autumn festival transformed Winchester Common into a wonderland of lights and laughter. Nathan clutched Olivia's hand as they weaved through the crowd, their parents following a few steps behind. String lights crisscrossed overhead like stars brought down to earth, and the air smelled of caramel apples and wood smoke. "You okay?" Nathan asked, feeling Olivia's hand tighten as they passed a group of girls from her school. "I'm using my breathing technique," she replied, her voice steady despite the tension in her shoulders. 5 counts in, 7 counts out. Just like Dr. Bennett taught me. They'd prepared for this evening carefully. Olivia wore her favorite jean jacket, the one with patches she'd started sewing on again, each one representing a small victory. "Warrior Red One. Speak your truth," said another. "The newest edition. Little brothers are smarter than they look." Their father had chosen this particular evening to bring them because he knew Madison would be at her father's house in the next town over. It was one of the many small ways their parents now worked to make the world feel safer for Olivia, while still encouraging her to face her fears gradually. "Look," Nathan pointed to the ring toss booth. "Can we try?" Olivia nodded, leading him through the crowd. But halfway there, she stopped abruptly. Ashley and Rebecca stood at the booth, their laughter carrying across the festival grounds. "We can do something else," Nathan offered quickly. "No." Olivia squared her shoulders. "Dr. Bennett says avoidance only makes anxiety stronger. Besides," she smiled down at him, "I promised to help you win that giant penguin." They approached the booth just as Ashley and Rebecca turned away, their arms full of smaller prizes. The girls fell silent when they saw Olivia, their expressions a mix of shame and uncertainty. Since their suspension, they'd kept their distance at school, Madison's absence leaving them unanchored. "Hi," Ashley said softly, the greeting sounding more like a question. "Hi," Olivia replied, her voice clear and controlled. She didn't smile, but she didn't shrink either. Rebecca shifted uncomfortably. We saw your speech at the assembly last week about anxiety and cyberbullying. It was really brave." "Thank you," Olivia said simply, neither accepting nor rejecting the olive branch. Dr. Bennett had talked with her about this, how forgiveness was a personal choice, not an obligation. The girls moved away, disappearing into the crowd. Nathan watched his sister's face carefully. "You did great," he told her. "I did, didn't I?" She sounded almost surprised. "A month ago, I would have run away." She pulled out the notebook she now carried everywhere, a habit Dr. Bennett encouraged. "Under proud of," she wrote, "stayed present during an unexpected encounter. Spoke with confidence." "My turn," Nathan said, taking the pen. "Under truth," he added. "My sister is the strongest person I know." They spent the next hour at the ring toss, Olivia teaching Nathan how to flick his wrist just right, her natural talent for teaching slowly reemerging. When he finally landed the winning throw, his victory dance made her laugh so hard she had to sit down. "Nathan?" she asked later, as they shared a funnel cake on a bench away from the main crowd. "Do you ever wish you hadn't found the notebook? That you could go back to just being a regular kid?" He considered this, powdered sugar dusting his nose. "No," he said finally, "because you weren't okay, even when I didn't know why. At least now you're getting better, but it's a lot for you to carry. Dr. Bennett says sometimes siblings of people with anxiety take on too much responsibility. You carried me when I was learning to walk." Nathan shrugged. "You carried me when I was scared of thunderstorms. Now it's my turn to help carry you." Olivia's eyes welled up. "When did you get so wise?" "I had a good teacher. She just forgot how smart she was for a while." Their parents joined them carrying hot chocolate. Diana had shortened her hospital shifts permanently, arranging her schedule to be home more often. James had started a parent support group that met weekly, helping other families recognize signs they might have missed. "Ready to head home?" Diana asked, noticing Olivia's tired eyes. Almost, Olivia said. She pulled out her phone, Not the old one with its history of cruel messages, but a new one with stricter safety settings and a background photo of her and Nathan pulling funny faces. She opened her notes app, where she kept a different kind of list now. Things that make me strong. Family who notices therapy tools that work, boundaries that protect, truth that heals, little brothers who save big sisters. She added a new one. 6. Facing fears, one festival at a time. The giant penguin sat between them on the bench, a trophy of progress. Nathan named it Hope in his head, though he'd never tell Olivia that. Some things were too poetic for 7 3/4. As they walked home through the cooling night, the festival lights fading behind them, Nathan thought about bridges, how some needed to be burned, while others could be rebuilt stronger than before. How healing didn't mean forgetting the hard parts, but learning to carry them differently. Olivia hummed softly beside him, an old song she used to sing when he was little. The sound floated up into the dark sky, carrying with it the promise of more good days than bad, more strength than fear, more truth than shadows. And in his sister's voice, growing stronger with each note, Nathan heard the sound of bridges being built, not to the past, but to whatever brave new future awaited them both. On a crisp December morning, 6 weeks after the autumn festival, Nathan sat cross-legged on his bed, watching Olivia get ready for school. She stood in his doorway, just like she had every morning since resuming their old routine. Her hair was pulled back in a loose braid, and she wore the sweater their grandmother had sent last week, deep purple with silver threads that caught the winter light. "Ready for your presentation today?" he asked. Nervous, she admitted, fiddling with her notebook. Not the old one full of pain, but her newest journal, its pages filled with truths and progress. "But Dr. Bennett says that's normal. Being nervous means it matters." Nathan knew what mattered today. Olivia would be speaking to the entire middle school about mental health and cyberbullying. Not because anyone forced her to, but because she'd asked to do it. Someone else might need to hear they're not alone. She'd explained at dinner last week. "Want to practice one more time?" Olivia smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. "Those came more often now. Only if you do the introduction like you did yesterday." Nathan cleared his throat dramatically, deepening his voice to mimic the school principal. "Students and faculty, please welcome Olivia Coleman, who has an important story to share." "Thank you, Mr. Nathan." Olivia played along, then grew serious. "My story starts with a notebook full of secrets and a little brother brave enough to read them." As she rehearsed her speech, Nathan watched the winter sun paint shadows on his wall. He thought about how much had changed since that October morning when he'd first noticed something wrong. The house felt different now, lighter somehow, as if secrets had physical weight and speaking them aloud had lifted something heavy from the air. Their parents had changed too. Mom worked fewer night shifts, making sure to be home for dinner more often. Dad had transformed his counseling program at school, creating safe spaces for students to talk about the things they carried. They both attended weekly family therapy sessions with Dr. Bennett, learning new ways to listen, to see, to understand. And sometimes Olivia was saying, the people who save us are the ones we least expect. Sometimes they're 7 years old and way too smart for their own good. 7 3/4, Nathan corrected automatically, making her laugh. The sound echoed through their home, not the hollow laugh she'd used as a mask during the worst times, but the real one. The one that reminded him of summer days and shared secrets and a sister who was finding her way back to herself. Downstairs, their mother called up, "Breakfast's ready. Nathan, don't forget your science project." They headed down together, Olivia's hand brushing his shoulder as they descended the stairs. In the kitchen, their father stood at the stove flipping pancakes, another change. These slow mornings together instead of rushed goodbyes and forgotten meals. "Big day," James said, sliding a plate toward Olivia. "How are you feeling?" "Ready," she said, and Nathan could hear the truth in it. "I have my notes, my breathing exercises, and—" She pulled something from her pocket. A small worry stone Nathan had given her, smooth and blue like a piece of sky you could hold. Diana joined them, coffee in hand. "Dr. Bennett called yesterday. She's very proud of how far you've come." "We all are," James added. Olivia ducked her head, but Nathan saw her smile. Under the table, she pulled out her notebook and wrote, proud of, being scared but doing it anyway, grateful for, family who rebuilt themselves while helping me rebuild truth. I am stronger than what tried to break me. Nathan reached for the pen, adding his own line, truth. My sister is a superhero, but I knew that all along. After breakfast, as they gathered their things for school, Olivia paused by the front door. Nathan, thank you, not just for what you did then, but for what you do every day. For seeing me even when I was trying to disappear. That's what little brothers are for. He shrugged, but he hugged her tightly. Outside, winter painted the world in shades of silver and blue. Their breath made clouds in the cold air as they walked to their father's car. Nathan thought about notebooks, how they could hold both darkness and light, how writing new stories didn't mean forgetting the old ones but learning from them. He thought about his sister, standing tall beside him, ready to share her truth with others who might need to hear it. How healing wasn't a straight line but a spiral, coming back to the hard places with new strength each time. As they drove to school, Olivia hummed softly, an old habit returning, like so many others. Nathan recognized the tune, the lullaby she used to sing to him during thunderstorms, when he was small and scared and needed his big sister to be brave for him. Now they took turns being brave for each other. The morning sun broke through the winter clouds, painting their world in possibilities. Nathan watched his sister's reflection in the car window, no longer fading but growing stronger, like a story finding its way to the light, one page at a time. And in the quiet of the car, in the warmth of their shared understanding, Nathan knew that some stories don't end so much as transform, that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is begin again, carrying our truths like lanterns to light the way forward. For him and Olivia, this wasn't an ending at all. It was simply the start of a better chapter.